If you've been sober a while, you survived detox, you white-knuckled the first brutal months, but nobody warned you about what comes next. The danger does not end when the chaos does. It goes quiet. Staying clean years in when life is calm and your guard is down, that is the real fight. Today, you'll get the one daily system that keeps long-term sobriety from quietly unraveling and how to redirect the discipline you already have into a routine that makes relapse far less likely, and one sober step to use this week. My guest, Adan Castañeda, is a Marine sergeant and Iraq combat veteran who beat heroin, meth, cocaine, and a schizoaffective diagnosis. He's 10 years sober. And today, he's a certified life coach and interventionist who helps others get out and stay out. Please welcome Adan Castañeda.
How you doing, sir? Glad to be here. It's an honor.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm excited to talk to you today. So, Adan, you've got 10 years clean and you've lived the part most people never talk about, the life after the crisis is over. For the guy listening who's already made it past those first hard months, what is the one thing that quietly pulls people back years later when everything looks fine on the outside? And what is the single thing that you do every day to stay ahead of that?
I think the thing that draws them back is maybe depression, lack of hope. It could, if they're dealing with trauma, if they used in the first place from childhood trauma or relationships or anything like that. But staying engaged in life, because when they crash from a lot of the drugs that they've been using or alcohol, their dopamine sac, serotonin, and norepinephrine, all that stuff kind of depletes. It's going all messed up and imbalanced. And they try to get those dopamine hits and feel good again. So one of the things I do is created a bucket list that has 2,500 activities to stay engaged in life. And that's recommended by the recovery coaching program I took to keep addicts engaged in life so they could have those dopamine hits, feel good, feel a level of accomplishment, stay engaged in life, relationships, and things like that.
Yeah, that's great. Now, you served as a Marine, and a lot of men listening have that same wiring. They have that discipline, the structure, and the mission, but they can't figure out why it works for their career and not for their recovery. So, how can you take that military grade discipline and actually point it at staying sober? And what does that look like in terms of your daily life? How could someone copy that?
You have to be extremely strict and disciplined with yourself. And for me, it's a life and death situation. If I ever use again, it could be laced with fentanyl. I could die. If I ever drink again, I could black out, get in a car accident, kill a family, something like that. So not only can you kill yourself or obviously get cirrhosis of the liver, get messed up, and get overdose from fentanyl or anything like that, nitazene, xylazine, all the stuff that's in the drugs these days. You have to say it's a life and death situation. Do a hardcore complete 180 degrees, go the opposite direction because you're spiraling downwards and you have to spiral upwards. You have to ascend upwards, right? So just go the complete opposite direction. Stay clean, diet, stay fit, calisthenics, cardiovascular fitness, eat the right foods, stay away from sugar and bread because bread converts into sugar and it can lead to plaque buildup in the arteries, heart problems, stroke, atherosclerosis, all that stuff. So stay clean. And the military discipline it takes is like, well, any civilian can do that because any civilian can be a soldier for their family, a guardian angel, a protector, a survivor in their family, and look after their loved ones. And if there's a home invasion or anything happens out there on the street, in order to protect your family, you have to be the most competent, capable, strongest version possible of yourself to either run away, call the cops, be competent enough to know what to do, and just protect your children and your family.
Well, before we got started, we were talking and you mentioned defensive driving. And that hit me a little bit because of the fact that oftentimes we go from being the drunk that might be behind the wheel. And now you're spinning that in the other direction and saying you have to be on guard for the people who are still struggling.
Right, exactly. So, car accidents happen a lot. There's tens of thousands of car accident fatalities every year, especially in major cities. And, if you've ever drank and drive, you know that you've put other families in danger, children, babies, women, other families, innocent fathers. So when you stay clean and you make that decision, you're clean, other people are probably still using out there. And I see people running red lights. I see people running stop signs. My father was killed when someone ran a stop sign and I know other people in my family who's have family members who died from car accidents. So when you're a defensive driving is very important. I've taken some defensive driving classes, and just be very aware that they make mistakes. They might have their blinker on because they forgot it. You think they're going to turn, but they're not. And if you pull out, they'll just crash into you or kill you. So like you have to be aware of, even if there is a green light, some people might be running a red light. So you still have to be aware of the traffic. You can't just be like, oh, it's green, I could go. You still have to be on the lookout and be aware and confident, especially if you have like a baby in the back seat or your wife and children. So defensive driving, right? And just be aware that other people make mistakes. There's accidents, 18-wheeler trucks, just because it's a huge truck. Sometimes they go out a boundary out of the line, and they could kind of hit you. So just be super careful.
And that carries over into life as well. You're moving from an area where you're in self-destruction yourself, but this carries over beyond the driving. This carries over into your daily life. And I really like how you frame that, is that you're the protector of your family. And I think that that often gets lost, as men are really responsible for this and need to be looking at the whole equation, not just for themselves, because addiction is a very selfish thing. I like how you've applied that. Is there any advice you'd give to any of us out here on how to improve how we look at protecting the whole family?
You have to protect your family as the head of the household, whether you're a man or woman, on all realms. There's psychological protection, there's physical protection, mental protection, there's spiritual. With your family, for me, like I go to church and that helps kind of nourish the soul. Psychological, stay engaged and keeping your mind active because addicts, it's easy to get bored. If you're intelligent, you get bored. You want to use because it provides stimulation. Physical protection, you have to be strong and fit. Like sugar, some people don't know, lack of education, protect your family, keep them aware, keep them in the loop, be that positive voice in their ear. Be like, look, all this sugar is going to lead to type 2 diabetes, shut down your kidneys. You're going to get your legs amputated. This happens to hundreds of thousands of Americans every single year, over 800,000. Either they get kidney dialysis, need a kidney transplant, get their legs amputated, or are on kidney dialysis. So sugar's a huge culprit. It's kind of like an evil corporation, but they know what they're doing. It's very addictive. It's bad for children. It happens to children. And when you grow up, you have to kind of protect your family like that. Protect them with strength, take them to the gym, just walk around the block, cardiovascular fitness, keep your heart in shape. Because once you're clean from drugs, you want to be strong and fit, defensive driving, but have a strong physical body so they can live a long time and have a healthy family themselves.
You touching on sugar a couple of times, I'm reminded that I lost my father at 68 to diabetes, and it was just a horrible, cruel way to see yourself basically be eaten away by sugar, because that's what it is. So you beat addiction, and you did this while managing schizoaffective disorder. So for listeners who are fighting sobriety and a mental health condition at the same time, is that a game changer? And how do you execute recovery on days when your own brain isn't really cooperating?
I take psych medication, and that seems to level you out if you do have schizoaffective. And I'm also on the bipolar spectrum. I struggle with PTSD from the military. I've had these conditions for about 15 years at least. When you struggle with mental illness and drug addiction, my father died when I was extremely young in a car accident. Someone ran a stop sign, killed him. And I was about 14 years old. I've grown up without that life coach, without someone to teach me a lot of things. I got to figure out things myself. So, the purpose and meaning, it takes me a little longer to figure that out. I hear other speakers out there and I figure out online and social media, okay, well, there's the American dream. It's a goal. They say that if you aim for the moon, right, you need to aim for the moon, aim high. And if you miss, you will still land among the stars. You'll still land among the stars. So, have high goals. You might not get your exact goals, but you'll still get a level of accomplishment that you wouldn't have reached otherwise. So live in the American dream. And once you focus on that, whether you're skits or addicted to drugs or anything, you start being like, okay, well, this is something worth having. This is something, having a house, being a member of my community, being a positive influence in the world. Like Gandhi said, be the change you want to see in the world. You're part of your community. You may go to a church, you may go to chess tournaments. For me, I do archery. I take flight lessons, fly a plane. Maybe you could do a tour. You don't have to fly, but you could go on tours in a helicopter or a small Cessna plane. Enjoy life, right? Treat yourself. Go to a nice restaurant every now and then. Do positive things for yourself. Meet people, talk to people. Just maybe talk to a stranger. How you doing? So I have people coming up to me at the grocery store, just talking to me about eggs. Oh, these are good. This is a good Central Market. This is a good brand. Like an old woman will give me positive advice on better deals where I can save money. And it's really nice to be a member of your community where there's people out there that just want to be part of society and help others. and they might be complete strangers, and you can be that person as well.
And now, as a recovery coach, you work with people who are still very early and still in that beginning raw stage. Are there practical tools that you reach for, like at the very beginning, for someone who's in their first 30 days? And then how does that differ from keeping someone steady at year 5?
At year 5, that's gonna be maintenance, but in the first 30 days, I would say 'cause, it's specifically we're at war. It's a war. There's the fentanyl, there's drug dealers, there's cartel members. These cartel members, they're cutting it with fentanyl. They know what's in it. They're getting away with it. They're getting away with murder. They know how to lie to the district attorneys and the judges and just say, "Oh, I didn't know there was fentanyl. My bad." And they just say, "I'm sorry." But they sometimes nothing happens to them. They don't get charged. So they're killing young adults, people's children, people's families. There's one family that had 5 family members killed from fentanyl. So the first 30 days of my recovery program is strictly flush your stash. If you have a stash, flush it immediately. Just get rid of it. Flush it down the toilet, get rid of it so you can't use it. Number 2, delete your social media because drug dealers can get a hold of you. That's how they've got a hold of me before. Social media, change your phone number. They can't contact you. Okay, now they might be looking for you in person if they know where you live and be like asking you to manipulate you, coerce you, persuade you to do drugs. Change your address, move, right? You might want to get a name change. That can help. But if you delete social media and you change your phone number and you move to a different city or state, somewhere safer, you're in a whole different area. You have a new clean slate now. You could have a fresh start. And so those are some of the things just to get away from the cartel, get away from the drug dealers. And if it's your child, get your family and your children away from the situation just to start over. Like military families move all the time. They move like 20 times in their life, all sorts of cities, different houses, different bases, and all that. So you kind of have to have that discipline and mindset to where, like, okay, if I'm in a new area and there's more crime or gangs and drug dealers and all that, we need to move again, move somewhere safe. Use AI, try to find a safe city, safe area to where you can make money, get a good job, support yourself, and also stay away from the cartel. So you might have to leave the country.
Hmm. Very interesting. I definitely think that escape and changing, getting away from the people that you have been around is probably the biggest thing that I always push as well. And that is changing your number and moving if possible, because people will track you down from your past. They won't leave you alone. And that's probably the hardest thing. But I know you said year 5, that's maintenance. But what does maintenance look like? Because I think that oftentimes for those that are big high achievers, they have the discipline, they've got the intelligence going on, and there's boredom that sets in. So you touched on your bucket list. Are there any other things that you might recommend to keep you on path?
Here's what my team leader, the United States Marine Corps, he was a sergeant and he advised our platoon once he was discharged as a veteran, the 4 things to stay sober and stay alive, pretty much. Number 1, don't do drugs or alcohol because you do that, you can kill yourself, commit suicide. Number 2, exercise releases dopamine. Keep exercising. It releases dopamine, norepinephrine. You feel good. You get the runner's high, cardiovascular. Number 3, have a good fire team, good network, good family, good friends in your circle that you trust, AA groups, NA groups, stuff like that. Meet people, talk to people, and help each other out as a family. And also hunting. Hunting, number 4, is a big one. And that's it, living off the land, being at one with nature, and getting an animal to eat it. It's like, well, it's kind of like an adrenaline rush. You get some dopamine hits and all that. It's sad. You should pray for the animal before you kill it. But the bucket list, there's 2,500 things on there. You could do anything you want in the world. If you're a high achiever, you can choose to do anything you want in the world. And for me, I just choose to help people. I donate to feedingamerica.org, which is kind of humanitarian aid for feeding families for low income seniors, women and children, veterans, and people in those groups, those vulnerable groups. There's hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of people struggling to afford food, take care of your family, and live a healthy lifestyle. It's difficult because I'm not like a millionaire. I don't know when you when you get to that elite status, it's like, well, these super high achievers, CEOs, if they're using like doctors or engineers or anything like that, it's like, well, you're highly skilled, you're highly intelligent, you can really do anything you want in the world. For me, I write books because I learned that as you age, what is the purpose of like having children? What's the purpose of being an old wise person? All you can really do is like the best thing you could train the youth, train youngsters, train people younger than you so they don't make the same mistakes. You could do that from speaking, writing books. You can do that from there's an Old Spice program called School of Swagger, which is a big brotherhood, a big brother, big sister mentorship program where you can apply and then you can help someone who's at risk of joining a gang, of doing drugs, or dropping out of high school. Like you can help a youngster, teach them what you know, get them off the street, get them to join the military, get them a better career, never lose hope, go to church. For me, I go to church if you believe in that. Have some spirituality and just be a good, kind-hearted person. Help others, talk to people, help each other out. Because as Americans, we need to be united where there's fellowship, where there should be camaraderie, and there should be like a brotherhood and sisterhood. We're just a huge family, and there's a lot of kind of things messed up in the country, but we're still like a big family.
So could you take us back? Who were you when you came home from Iraq, and how did things start to come apart for you? Could you walk us through kind of that journey from the return and how it impacted you?
When I came back, started drinking heavily, and my brother, he lost his life from gun violence. And so after that happened, I used drugs. I was a trash can junkie. Anything you should throw in the trash can, I would ingest. I would put in my body, and whatever it was, over the counter, off the street, or alcohol, and mix it and all. And just get. I should have died. I've had a lot of experience where I blacked out and all that, and I was just messed up, probably dangerous. Kind of because the simple fact that I would black out and use drugs, and I had weapons and all that, and I was infuriated. I was in a rage, and I was depressed at the same time. That could be the drugs, it could be mental illness, or both. It exacerbates the other. So I was going in and out of psych wards, the Veterans Affairs Hospital, for a few years before I eventually got sent to jail for committing an offense of discharging a firearm. No one was injured, no one was hurt, but I spent 10 years in the legal system, minimum, in jails and psych wards, civilian psych wards, max security psych units. So I was going to psych units, getting a lot of shots of medication, concoctions, cocktails, and all that because I would fight a lot. I would fight in psych wards like max security. There's a lot of predators and heinous individuals, dangerous individuals that, as a United States Marine, I felt obligated to fight, teach them a lesson. I kind of learned from jail and learned on the street. If someone messes with you or if they disrespect you, they try to punk you, then they're just going to keep stepping all over you. And you have to fight back and defend yourself, defend others. Sometimes they would attack the women, like the nurses who were working there, the female nurses. So I wouldn't be the only one. Sometimes we go together or as a group, or someone else would fight while I'm off duty. But, when I'm up and I'm awake, I try to do my best just to, offer a form of protection. But at the same time, the doctors see it as very dangerous and violent. So they labeled me as like psychotic, and bipolar and all this stuff. I have to take all this medication for kind of being a protector and kind of doing what I felt was morally just or kind of the right thing to do. If there's a predator who committed murder or rape or something, I kind of felt my duty to teach him a lesson. Some of them were bigger than me. Some of them I did get messed up. I got messed up a lot. Security would tackle me. I almost got my neck broken. I got hit in the head so hard that I was bleeding out the side of my head to where I could have died from that. Had a kind of like a internal concussion, and I was bleeding out my nose because I had internal bleeding from my brain, I believe, and I was bleeding out of my nose internally. I was kind of messed up from that, and I think there was some probably psychological trauma or damage or something. But so it's very dangerous there. People do die in hospitals. They get attacked. They do get put on the wrong medication and all that. So it's very dangerous. I know that I never want to go back. I never want to go back. But I did learn. I started writing my book at the last hospital I went to, San Antonio State Hospital. Started writing my autobiography. I'm having issues with Amazon. They're kind of my account's suspended right now. But so I guess I had limited editions out. But I wrote a book, how my whole life is like a game of chess. Chess perception, mindset is everything, to where you have to analyze the chessboard, which is your community, the world, your country, the battlefield, and make the right moves, analyze, strategize, optimize, and make the best possible moves to protect your pieces, which is your family and your friends, your network, your fire team, and keep them alive. And the enemy is out there. The enemy is the cartel, the drug dealers. They're trying to take your pieces. They're trying to take your children and snatch them up and take their lives. So you have to fight back against them, whether it's calling the police, filing police reports, getting restraining orders, and getting the law involved, getting FBI, going higher chain of command, communicating with any military or police agency, multiple police agencies, FBI, anyone you can contact, Homeland Security. You can call Crime Stoppers, and they might even offer a reward if you give them information that leads to a drug dealer's arrest, right? Get them off the street, get them where they need to be in prison.
I was going to ask you about chess perception, so you just brought it up. Was this the turning point when you started the writing there? And How did chess, of all things, become the tool? Were you playing chess and then you just saw the natural relationship of what this involved in from one side to the other?
Chess is amazing. It is one of the most it's an ancient game, and they don't even know the origins, if it developed in India or China. I guess the history is, like, kind of, obscured, but it's very strategic. It's a game of warfare. Officers play it in the military, and when I would play at some hospitals I would go to, I'd play on 3 different chessboards at once with another patient. We'd play all day. We'd play simultaneous games. We'd play, for pretty much 6 to 8 hours straight all day. There's nothing else to do. And he was a college educated student, and he's very intelligent. He said I was really good, and we were kind of equally good against each other. What do you call it? Like quality opponents, or worthy opponents of each other. So we're kind of equal status. But once you play, I watched a lot of Bobby Fischer. So Bobby Fischer, there's a movie out, Searching for Bobby Fischer. Another one called Pawn Sacrifice. So we'd be watching these chess movies and getting to understand how kind of chess with conversations, making moves, like when you're like lawyers, whenever they file an appeal or file an affidavit, that's kind of like a move on the chessboard, right? And then either the defendant gets out or goes to prison or whatever. That's like a chess move game. Psych wards is the same thing. When you're playing chess, you kind of get lost, just like you get lost in your mind when you're reading a book, and you have all these thoughts, and it depends on if your brain's organized, or if you're a good person or an evil person, and how your brain operates. If you're a good person, I'll be playing chess, and when I go deep into thought, I'm like, well, the moves on the chessboard, the moves in the world that I need to make. How am I going to make enough money? Where am I going to live? What's a good city to live? The family I'm going to have. Who am I going to have as a partner? Am I going to trust this person? How many children are we going to have? Am I going to send them to private school, to college? How much am I going to be able to save up? How much am I going to work? What kind of car am I going to drive? What kind of safety vehicle am I going to drive? All the things I need to make on the chessboard, the church we're going to go to, chess tournaments we're going to go to, private chess lessons we're going to take, archery ranges we're going to go to, because archery is a game of aim and precision. Aim and precision. You're aiming at goals. You're aiming at goals, and you have to hit your target every time. So, having that mindset and just having a positive mindset, even in the military, as an ex Marine sniper, they say in training, they would say the most important thing as a sniper or a Marine is to keep a positive mental attitude. Keep a positive mental attitude. You could lose your leg. Might get blown up. You could be on the verge of death. You have to keep a positive mental attitude. Once you survive and you come back home and you have trauma and all that, and you're depressed or you have PTSD or you're addicted to drugs, you have to get clean, stay clean, have a positive mental attitude and outlook and perspective on life, that you can achieve anything. You can do anything. I know a guy in the military, Levi Rogers Group. He's an ex-military member, and he's a real estate company owner, multimillionaire. He has his own real estate company. In the military, if you have the mindset and discipline, I believe if you have that, you can achieve anything. If you don't give up, just don't give up, right? Never give up. You can never give up. Keep a positive mental attitude.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Aiden, as we bring this back into the bigger picture of building lasting sobriety and unshakable confidence through the sober method, I want to connect your experience directly into two of its steps. Now, the method runs stoic, observe, behavior, execute, and restore. And your whole message kind of lives in those last two: execute, that consistent daily action and structure that holds for years, and restore, and turning that wreckage into purpose and repairing relationships and helping the next person out. So, from where you sit, why is that consistent execution the real engine of long term sobriety?
I guess, like, if every day is the most important day of your life, right? Because if you make a decision to relapse, you could easily die. Then your family is left without you, has to go to a funeral, stressed, distressed, traumatized. So just execute the things you need to do. That's a good one. Execute the things you need to do to get clean, stay clean, eat the right foods, fruits and vegetables, low sodium chicken, eat fish, because fish is good for your brain and your heart, right? Taking your vitamins, just taking these things, putting these things in your body is executing something that keeps you healthy, right? The job, applying to 1,000 jobs, that's executing. That's going to get you paid money, work ethic. You're going to develop work ethic, and if you have to drink a little bit of coffee, which is what I'm doing now, but workaholic, it keeps you off the street. It gives you work ethic. You can support your family. You'll be a better leader in your company. You can work your way up the ranks, up the corporate ladder. and be a good example and role model for your children and people out there in your family.
I agree with that statement. Well, everyone listening, before we go, here is one sober move that I want you to take this week, inspired by Aiden's work. Execute. I want you to pick one non negotiable daily anchor and borrow from the military idea of a standard that you don't break. Same time, every day, no debate, whether that's a workout, a cold shower, 10 minutes of journaling, one recovery phone call, one anchor every single day for 7 days. And in Restore, I want you to choose one restorative act this week. Reach out to one person you have drifted from and begin to repair it, or help one person who is earlier in this fight than you are. Service is not extra credit, it's part of the protocol. I want you to do both and write down what shifts. This is how long term sobriety stops being something you white knuckle and becomes something you build on. Now, Aiden, we have a tradition on this podcast where each guest answers a question left by my last guest. David Seichel left you this question. What did you do today to make the world a better place?
I would like to say this podcast. I would like to say having the honor of being on this podcast with this very intelligent gentleman, this host. I don't want to say Masami Rigati.
Yeah, Massimo, yes.
Massimo Rigatti. So it's like I hope that this podcast can reach others, and maybe my recovery program. I update it whenever I can. It's at the recoveryprotocol.org. It's a website where I do have free videos, and I make videos all the time. I vlog. I talk about my journey, my sobriety journey, and the recoveryprotocol.org. It has a link to my Patreon channel where all the videos are free. There's like 8 to 10 videos. And then there's a paid membership. It starts at $50 a month, which is a lot cheaper than rehabs that can cost $30,000 a month out of pocket, or $2,000 to $7,000 deductible. So, I try to offer, free content, and also a Discord channel to hold members accountable, a community where we could get together, play chess together. Even Tetris is good for the mind. It develops the prefrontal cortex for executive functioning. It strengthens decision-making skills. So chess, Tetris, neurological games together, and making sure that we disconnected from drug dealers, change our phone numbers, hold each other accountable, and got away from the environment. So you try to protect each other as a family.
Well, that's fantastic. And everyone listening, I'll put all of those links in the show notes. And I believe we even have a toolkit that you offer on that site as well. I'll make sure to put that in the show notes, everyone. Well, to everyone listening, I want you to keep observing and journaling your behaviors every day. A free guide is available at sobermethod.com. I'm Massimo Rigatti. This is the Sober Method Podcast. Please follow, like, subscribe, and leave a review. And I ask that you please share this episode with anyone who truly needs to hear it. Remember, your future is sober.